Hello, my name's Izzy Barrett. I'm the Artistic Director of the National Youth Jazz Collective. Welcome to today's live stream. It's an inaugural, it's the first we've ever done. We're really excited. It's the outcome of this year's inaugural National Youth Jazz Collective's Composers Summer School. We've had 12 fantastic young musicians who've been working with aged 11 to 18, frantically composing in 6 days with a day's rehearsal and then a day of recording. And I can't tell you, as a professional composer, and I know that others that join us as well during the course of today, we will all say that we were wowed. Honestly, I know people often say that in education, but really was how quickly everybody rose to the challenge, how fantastically varied the pieces are, how personal they all are, how well crafted they all are. And also we want to thank the National Youth Jazz Collective Summer School young musicians, 5 nonettes, for performing the pieces so well. Before we kick off and introduce you to the composers, I'd like to introduce you to the team that were working with me to bring everybody together. We went to Benenden. Big thanks you to Benenden School for hosting the summer school. Big thank you to the Arts Council England for funding, and the Leverhulme as well for funding the bursaries, and the Arts Council for funding NYJC as an NPO. So if we could first of all welcome to the stage our programme manager and project manager, Helena Summerfield, and Harry Brain. Hello, Helena.
Hi, Izzy.
Would you like to say a few words of welcome to everybody?
Certainly. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm the interim programme manager at the NYJC, and it's been such a wonderful experience seeing the young musicians on the summer programme, and I'm really personally excited about hearing all the compositions tonight.
Thank you so much. And Harry, would you like to say a few words? You were there frantically making sure everybody had everything they needed in all the rooms, and you were impeccable and so silent as well. I didn't even notice you were there, and yet the only way I did know you were there is I'd walk into a room and it would be brilliantly set up, ready for whoever needed to go in there to do whatever it is we'd scheduled them to do. Say a few words of welcome, Harry. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. I'm really excited to see all of these compositions come to light. I was lucky enough to be in the room when these happened, so I got a first-hand experience, which is one up on everyone else here. But I'm really excited for you to see them all because they are really great.
One of the tutors that came to support us was also an alumna, ex-member of NYJC, who's gone on to achieve many things, winning the Young Jazz Musician of the Year, going on to study in America, having studied at the Royal Academy of Music, and then now just about to perform at the London Jazz Festival. Alex Ridow, please come and say hello and a few words of welcome before we kick off. Lovely
Hi.
to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. Yeah, I was really impressed and very proud of all of these young composers, so I'm very excited to be hearing their performances. Yeah, it was great to work with them, and you know, I learned a lot from them as well. It's always a two-way thing. Yeah, I'm excited to hear it.
And in a little while, when they're playing with your actual combo, then we'll invite you to talk a little more about it. But just to contextualise, so the summer school for the improvisers starts on the Sunday, and you arrived a couple of days earlier because the composer had already started working with me. So we arrived on the Thursday with the idea of on the Monday and the Tuesday, we would then do a Monday of rehearsals and a Tuesday of recording. And so you were also taking one of the 5 combos in the summer school. So you went from working with the composers and getting the pieces off the ground to then, oh, hello, meeting you. And now as a combo leader in the rehearsal and then again in the recording. So you actually saw that whole full process through from start to finish. And maybe when the pieces that were recorded with your combo, maybe you could say a little bit about that process and also how relevant you feel it is for young musicians who aspire to be like you, to go off and travel and compose and write for your own bands, which is something that's really important now, isn't it, for young?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Would you say that percentage-wise, would you say the majority of the young musicians who call themselves jazz musicians that are your age are now tending to look towards playing their own compositions rather than the American Real Book?
I think it's probably 100%.
Wow. Yeah.
I think anyone and the people that don't compose very much sort of wish they were doing it more. So yeah, I think it's kind of essential these days. Yeah.
And as an old veteran of the music, you know, I started out with the jazz course at Trinity in 1999. And then at that time, as I looked around me, most of the music that was being taught was from the American real book. So it's amazing to see in 24 years how the scene has really shifted, so that we're, the British composers are making it their own, and that's great. That's very exciting, and it's really wonderful to be part of that. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is say to Alex, see you shortly when your combo is being featured, and I'd like to welcome to the stage, please, could we see Marcus Bunton? Hello, Marcus.
Hello.
Hello, lovely. So we thought we would kick off with your tune because it was so full of pep and joy and vigor. It's a real good launcher. So the title of your piece is?
It's called Nothing a Coffee Won't Solve.
And so where did you get the idea of the title from?
I was just really tired one day and Harry said, just get nothing a coffee won't solve.
Brilliant. Could you just tell us a couple of things about the actual process, that from when you first sat down thinking, oh gosh, I've got to write a piece of music? Did you find it daunting, or were you just chomping at the bit to get stuck in? First of all, that's the first question.
I quite enjoyed the practice rooms because I had like a whole grand piano, a desk. I had everything set out. I'm quite a perfectionist, so I quite like that. And I had just everything ready to go, and I could just write for a few hours a day and get it done,
So we had 4 days of writing with a few seminars here and there to look at other people's music. We were looking at people like Christine Jensen and Joe Locke, Maggie Olin, just looking at people who specialise in writing for small ensembles, who are improvisers themselves. So there were those moments of going off and looking at the handbook. But sort of 50% of the time you were definitely all scribbling away with us, coming round and rotating. How did that feel at day 5? Suddenly there you were with the combo, having the piece rehearsed.
It was kind of amazing seeing like the piece actually come to life. I'd only heard like the really bad kind of computer generated song. I've never heard it in person with the actual solos, and it was magic.
And also the way that the rhythm section bring your rhythm section parts to life. It's just, unless you spend hours diligently programming what you think the drummer's playing, what you think the keyboard playing, it's impossible to evoke that, I think, on the computer.
Yeah.
And then was it helpful having that process of rehearsing the piece on the Monday so that you could go away and then reflect, and then having it recorded on the Tuesday? Or was it more or less exactly the same, the music and the parts on the Tuesday as you'd had on the Monday? Was there any shift, any influence, any revision that because of the rehearsal?
I mean, I had to kind of change the drum part because it was quite unclear. So I think it definitely did help. It made me more prepared. And I think if we didn't do it, it would be not as good.
And if I said that we were really trying to make sure that it felt like an authentic session. So when you did the recording, it was very much coming in, reading it down and recording it. And do you feel that was true, that it felt professional?
It definitely was. I mean, everybody was just so calm and like, they knew what they were doing though. They were good. Yeah.
And very, very receptive, I felt. Everybody was very supportive of the composers. And just so that you all know, everybody that's watching, I then did, during the week, I gave tutorials during the summer school week, gave tutorials to every single member of the group. So all 45 young musicians, each of them, I said, how did you feel about giving 2 of your combo sessions to the composers? And it was a unanimous, absolutely loved it. Should we do it again next year? Absolutely. And 44 of the 45 said absolutely. And the 45th said, I loved it, which I think is another absolutely. So without further ado, I think we're going to invite Harry to start the video. But if you could just remind us one more time, Marcus, what's the name of your piece?
Nothing a Coffee Won't Solve.
So sit back, relax, and here we go. Over to you, Harry. Thanks, Marcus.
Hello, my name is Marcus Bunton and I'll be playing There's Nothing a Coffee Won't Solve.
Fantastic. Marcus, what do you think of that?
I think it was amazing. I mean, that saxophone solo at the start was just crazy.
What was
Yeah.
really great about your writing is when you get to the composition, and this is true of everybody, when you get to the improvisation section, rather, you really had worked hard to think about how can I make sure that when someone walks into the performance, they can definitely tell it's my composition, because the ideas that are in the backings are still there, but I'm not going to get in their way. And you really managed that, managed the whole situation in a really lovely way. So I think the soloists could just fly. And at the same time, we could hear references to the composition. So we go, if I'd walked in halfway through, I'd go, do you know what? I think that must be Marcus's piece. So well done, Marcus. Big congratulations. And I hope you don't mind if I tell everybody you were 11 years old when you joined us, weren't you?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's amazing that you're writing to that level, and congratulations. You keep doing what you're doing. And for anyone else, absolutely. I can see some rounds of applause from the different contributors from NYJC. And for those watching, although we do stipulate certain age groups for the work we do, we're very happy to always talk to parents and young musicians if you feel that you'd like to take part and work with us. We've always got ways around things. Residential courses, sometimes people haven't been away before, and so. But Marcus, did you feel welcome and did it feel comfortable?
Yeah, the community was just like so welcoming, and I think, yeah, it was great.
Lovely. Well, you stay with us to see what you think of all the other pieces. But for now, Marcus, a huge congratulations. Well done. Woo-hoo-hoo. See you soon. I'd like to welcome Tatiana to the stage now, if I may. Lovely to see you, Tatiana. And you were with Alciona and Tori's group, I think, if I remember rightly. And I think there were 3 composers from our group that worked with that group. So I'm wondering if you might just share a quick insight into the piece, what the title is, why you came up with that title, and so what the thought process was with the composition. What were you aiming to achieve in your composition? So the title, first of all.
Yeah, my title of my piece is Out of Reach. I decided to choose that because I felt like I'm at a point in my life where all my dreams are a bit, not easy. I feel like they're not easily attainable. So I thought I'd reflect that in my music.
And I think from talking to the older community and the community of professional performers that were there, I'm hoping that you will have felt a sense of, that everyone's been there. Everybody that's on this journey at some point is in that, it's not quite obtainable, it's not quite reachable. And the only way that we've all achieved it, and yourself included, is persistence and being around people that are supportive as well. That's really important, I think. And I'm wondering if that's a fair representation of sort of the way forward.
Yeah, it was definitely, I feel like the summer school was definitely really enjoyable because of the community within it. Everyone was really supportive. Yeah, so it was really fun to be in that situation as well.
That's interesting. Have you kept in touch with people since you left?
Yeah.
Great. Well, we're very much hoping that you'll also apply next year, and we've got other ideas as well for involving the composers. So for now, I'm wondering whether you might just say what were the aims of the piece? Sort of, did you set yourself any tasks? Did you just sit down and write, and then it took you where it took you? Were there things you were focusing on? What was your sort of compositional process?
Well, it was definitely because it was my first time composing jazz. I felt very terrified because I felt like I was limiting myself. But I feel that with the summer school, I was able to open up a bit more and really go through the process of first creating an idea and then expanding from that.
And I can remember spending quite a lot of time working together on really exploring the properties of the original bit of what we call the head, so the ensemble bit that you composed, and what the properties were there that then might support solo sections. And so as everybody listens to this piece, really follow the thematic journey of the composition and see how Tatiana facilitates it for the improvisers. So without further ado, would you please introduce your piece, and then we're going to hand over to Harry, who's going to press play. Enjoy.
My piece is Out of Reach. My name is Tatiana Diashenu, and my piece is called Out of Reach.
Magic. Absolute magic. Well done, love. That was great. And I'm just going to invite, if I may, to the stage. We've actually got Aureliano, Tatiana, if you want to join us, who was the flugel player. So I'm wondering, first of all, if there's anything that you'd like to share with us. How did it feel having these young pieces? I mean, the pieces were literally young and they were only 4 days old, to be playing them. And how well do you feel they were crafted? Were there any corners that you thought, oh, this doesn't make sense, or did it fall into place? How was it?
It was really good. I think I really enjoyed playing them. They just had that one had a really nice kind of vibe to it. It was just really nice to play and nice to solo one as well, and it really suited the flugelhorn as well. So well done. I thought it was a really nice piece. And to only have done that in 4 days, 5 days, it's really impressive, and it was really good, and it was really nice to play. So,
and as the improviser, I feel that you didn't feel boxed in by the writing that was going on behind the soloing.
No, not at all.
Which is a skill in itself, isn't it? That's often where people come unstuck, is writing it, and then suddenly there's nowhere to move because you feel really hemmed in. So as a jazz musician who was on the improvisers course, do you feel that there's a real synergy between the two courses, the composers and the improvisers?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I liked that we had the composers and that we got to play their charts and things like that. I thought that was quite a nice idea because it kind of breaks up a lot of the improv stuff that we're doing with kind of reading and playing things that are made by different, like the people there that you're friends with there, which is a really nice thing to do.
And for the rest of the week, you were doing everything by ear, and
yeah.
Composition was a big part, wasn't it? All the tutors that you all worked with, you were playing their pieces as part of the program. So that sort of playing original compositions is really authentic to NYJC. But what was different on this is that you were given 20 minutes to rehearse, 20 minutes to record, and that you were reading from notated parts as well. So it was another skill that everybody did. It feel pressured to be doing it in that sort of time? And was it too pressured, or was it? I felt that everybody achieved it. How did it feel from your?
I think it was quite good because it kind of mimicked what a session is like. And I thought it was nicely well put together, and it was just, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And I think the rest of the people in my combo enjoyed it as well. So, and we liked the piece as well. We thought it was really good. So
each piece is
well done, Tatiana.
Absolutely, Tatiana, well done. And also, I think from the perspective of the composers, I know that everybody is so grateful to all of the 45 young musicians, the 5 nonettes that performed the pieces, that everybody's really grateful. So if you could take on behalf of your combo a huge thank you and forward it. I'm sure you're all in touch with each other on Facebook. What's that? And just to say to everybody that's watching, you can, if you've got any questions or comments that you'd like to share, please do use the opportunity to comment on the YouTube channel, and then Helena will actually forward those to us, so we will share them live on the live stream as well. For now, thank you so much, Aureliano, and it's really lovely to see you again. And what a beautiful solo! Well done for re-entering the spirit of the composition. It was a win-win. So thank you both, Tatiana and Aureliano. See you shortly. So we've got another piece that was also played by the same ensemble, and this is, we're going to ask Lucy to come and join us now. Hello, Lucy.
Hello.
And a nice story for everyone to know is that NYJC is relocating to the Midlands, and everyone could probably guess from my accent, I'm a Midlander myself, coming from Ashby de la Zouch, and you're just down the road towards Derby, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what's the jazz scene like in Derby? Is there much opportunity for your pieces to be played?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, like the bands that I play in, sometimes they'll like let me play pieces that I played with them. So yeah, that's nice to there's not like there are many like jazz things I've heard play before. So that's really nice to hear, like, for the first time.
So within your journey as a composer, where does NYJC Summer School experience sit? Is it the first time you've written for a group of improvisers, or have you written for improvisers before? Is it different styles that you've written? Some classical, some pop, some folk? Where is it for you? What's your journey?
So I'd like written some classical things that I'd heard played before, but this was the first time I'd like done like a proper full jazz composition and then had people improvise over it. And it was like the first time I wrote something where I didn't have to like write out a drum part or a piano part, and I could just like give it to them and then they'd come up with it.
So with regard to that, I think what we're saying for people that aren't that involved in writing for the jazz ensembles is that rhythm section parts often look more like a map. So everyone's still got the rehearsal letters, and we can still say letter A and letter B. But for a drum, you might just say play 8 bars rather than every note microscopically notated, so that they can just see the shape and the form of the piece, but be able to contribute their own ideas. Is that what you were doing with your piece?
Yeah, I think it was mostly just sort of a general style that I wanted, and then the drummer just took it away.
How did you evoke that style when you spoke to the drummer? Because there are different ways, and one thing we don't do, people that are watching and wondering about writing for drummers for the first time, honestly, leave your Italian and Latin terminology. We just speak colloquially, so it would be a more of a point of reference, swung, straight, Latin, and maybe even in the style of a piece you already know. So how did you communicate your groove to your drummer?
I think I said like up tempo because I wanted it quite fast, and then I said funk because that was the style I was going for.
Brilliant. So and it was the same group that we've just heard play Tatiana's piece. I'm wondering, is there anything else you'd like to share about the piece itself before we introduce it?
The name.
Yeah, the name. Absolutely. Brilliant.
So it's called Giraffe on the Moon with a Purple Raccoon.
And where did that come from, that name?
I just used a random word generator and it came up with giraffe and moon, and then someone was like, oh, it rhymes with raccoon, so there's a purple raccoon in it as well.
That's brilliant. I work a lot with a composer called Mike Gibbs, and he likes to give titles that are catchphrases. So you get the picture and all those kind of things. So everybody starts, titles are as unique and as bespoke as the music itself. So that's brilliant. You've got your random generating style of titles. Brilliant. It's a great title as well. So if you could introduce it one more time for us, and I'm going to hand over to Harry, and let's hear Lucy's piece.
This is Giraffe on the Moon with a Purple Raccoon.
I'm Lucy Masterson. This is Giraffe on the Moon with a Purple Raccoon.
brilliant. Well done, Lucy. That's fantastic. And I love the idea of the piano, the two keyboard players playing a shared duo, trading. And I'm thinking, is that the giraffe and the blue raccoon?
Yeah.
Was that intentional or was that just coincidence?
It wasn't in my head when I came up with it, but could be, yeah.
They've got that same spirit of playful
Yeah.
cheekiness that the title's
Yeah.
got in the piece. Really great. And that's a brilliant way of setting something up with the bass line, you know, giving one of the instruments something that's going to infuse and enthuse, but infuse the whole band has to buy into it. And it's a great way of setting things up. And often we do that as composing improvisers, just setting it up, first of all, establishing the groove, and then the rest of the composition blossoming. So well done. I'm wondering if Alex might join us, because Lucy, we're going to have a chat with Alex now about coming to join the course and meet the young musicians. And I'm wondering if you might just talk us through the journey, because in a minute we're going to welcome Sam to the stage, who was one of the musicians that you actually worked with right through from start to finish. And I wondered if you might just evoke in our mind's eye a picture of what was a typical 6 days of you and Sam being on the summer school.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you know, it was very jam-packed. So I think for me, by the time it got to performing these young musicians performing their compositions, it felt like it had been a lifetime since I'd seen them. But yeah, it was amazing to see the growth from all of the composition students. And yeah, of course, I had Sam in my group, and yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see how the piece had evolved since only, I think, 2 days before was when I last saw the piece. And just, you know, it takes a long time to finish a piece. It's kind of, sometimes it's easy to start, and then it's really hard to, especially if you haven't done it before, just make sure everything is, you know, readable, make sure you have all the sections you want. So for him to come with the finished thing, it was really like, oh yeah, amazing. It's a real achievement, which I still, you know, I'm still figuring out how to do that efficiently. But yeah, so it was, yeah, we had like, you know, long days with lots of tutoring, and for the composition students, they had long days of composing, and you know, we spent a lot of time in the end. I remember formatting charts and stuff like that. Yeah, and then it came to the performance, and I think it was mentioned before, you know, there's not a lot of time to be rehearsing, really. It's kind of a bit more like it would be in the professional world, quick rehearsal and a quick recording. And it was great to see them, you know, just experience that, you know, like I'm used to all the time. And, you know, they really did a great job of not, you know, feeling too stressed or pressured. It was great. I think you're still muted.
Hello. That's before you arrived. I spent 2 days with everybody, listening to people who really specialised in writing for small groups, and just looking at how they'd written for quintets and duos and sextets, and just getting really inside that small group improvisation for composition for improvisers. So there were lots of strategies and making how things worked and why did that work, and like short stories, basically. Everyone was writing a short story. So by the time you arrived on this, ready for the Saturday, I think the Friday, and then we had Billy Marrows came to join us as well. It was really getting inside their music and giving them tutorials and rotating everybody around, trying not to bombard them with too many tutorials, so they still got writing time, marrying them up with the tutors that when they were at that moment in their piece, who would be the best person to just go through it with them. So I felt with Sam, if Sam would come and join us, what I felt with Sam when you were writing your piece, Sam, would you come and join us on the video? The thing that struck me very strongly with yourself was you were really, not only were you clear on your ideas, but you were able to sit at the piano and go, and my piece goes like this. And what I felt for you was, it was so time consuming writing it down. And you put me in mind of Charles Mingus, who actually spent most of his time teaching his small group orally. And I'm wondering, looking at obviously we had a limited amount of rehearsal time and recording time, but I'm wondering, Would you ever consider the piece that you wrote actually teaching it to people orally without even writing it down?
Yeah, I think that was the part that I struggled with the most, was like writing out the notation. And I think, yeah, that would have been, I would have found that maybe easier teaching it orally.
So it's something that we think about, maybe the next opportunity that we can make it, because Alex, I'm sure that we all do that in our small group situations where we do things orally and experiment and slow things down and invite contributions. So like you say, it was very much modeled on doing things in the professional way if you were commissioned to write something. But I think also the way that Sam worked, it reminded me a lot more of having your own band, having your own luxury for rehearsal time. And maybe if everybody in the band is writing together, that you're more generous with the amount of rehearsal time that you would give each other, because you know that you're each playing each other's pieces. So well done, Sam, because you did brilliantly. And as everybody's going to hear in a minute, the performance really rose to that fantastic clarity of part writing. And it did feel like the way that they played it, it did feel like you'd sat down and taught it to them orally. They really entered, I felt, the spirit. So how did it feel when you rocked up and there you were rehearsing? Did it influence the way that you then, the piece that you then recorded? Was there much of a revision that went on between the two? But did the rehearsal make you reconsider any elements?
Yes, there were a few things, like it was more just ironing out like small details, such as like how long the solos were and how long they lasted for. But I think that's something that's really helpful to have the rehearsal time for, because it's hard to get a sense of when you're just writing it out.
It really is very, very difficult to second guess. It really is helpful to have that rehearsal. And I think often the finding that everybody agrees on is that they haven't given the soloist enough time to get their footing. I don't know, did you extend it? Were you more generous with the amount of time you gave to the soloist?
Yeah, I was a bit. It was also just like one of them I'd left open, but that was a bit vague, so I had to constrict it to, I think, 4 times around.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, what's the title of the piece?
It's called An Answer.
And after we're going to introduce it in a minute and hear it, and then it would be really great to hear back from you about how you felt that recording and if you were satisfied with the performance that you got. So might you remind us one more time of the title of the piece? Over to you.
It's called An Answer. I'm Sam Dewhurst, and this is my piece, An Answer. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2.
Well done, Sam. And it was great to hear all that voice leading and harmonic progression. It was like surfing on a chord progression that the musicians could just gently and liltingly use that current that you generated. Sam, might you come back? Well done. Have you had the opportunity to get the piece played since the summer school?
No, I haven't actually.
Well,
Well, I have. I've played it with my dad a few times.
Oh,
On the
great.
alto, which has been fun. Yeah.
The nice thing about the piece is that I can see it very flexible, so it would work as a duo, and it also works as an expanded ensemble as well. So I can even hear like a string section behind it if you ever had the opportunity. So keep that in your bag of repertoire, because that's a really great calling card if anyone wants to know if you write for improvisers. Congratulations.
Great, thank you.
We're going to welcome now to the stage Matteo. Come and tell us, Matteo, about your piece.
Hello, is it
Hello.
work? Is it work? Can you see me?
No.
No. Well, that is bizarre. Right.
Okay. I think maybe we just need to speak to you because of time and stuff, unless Harry can do
Okay.
anything to help with the video. But maybe we start the conversation now, and if Harry can scene.
That's fine.
Well done for your piece. It was a foxy little number because it was. Do you want to tell everybody about what it had? A lovely element in it that was took a little while to settle, but once it did, oh my gosh, was that a strong personality? Hello, there you are.
Oh,
Tell everybody about the element, the main key element in your piece.
yeah, the fact that it's in 7/8 for the majority of the piece.
Fantastic. But it really felt like it was such an established groove. That's the great thing about some of these irregular time signatures. If it's really authentically convincing, it plays itself, and it very much did. So you were working with the same group that we heard earlier on with Marcus. How did they rise to the challenge?
They definitely rose to the challenge. They did play it fluently, and they were like they could feel the like claver of it, you know, the instead of just like they weren't like counting in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They were just feeling the beat and feeling the piece, which was good.
And was it consistently 4 and 3, 3 and 4? Did it alternate?
It was 4 and 3.
4 and 3.
Yeah.
And did the piece did it happen to be in 7? So did you hear something in your head, you notated it and thought, oh, and afterwards thought, hang on a minute, that's in 7? Or did you set yourself the task that you wanted to write in that particular groove?
No, I would just I actually came up with the drum beat while I was at a friend's house. I was on his kit, and I just like came up with it, and then I notated it while I was on the train to the Jazz Collective to Benidorm, and so I used that as a starting point, and that's just how it happened.
Oh, brilliant. And you'd already been able to contextualize what we were doing because we'd sent out that playlist a few weeks ago beforehand, so you could sort of see the environment that we were creating, and we'd also told everybody sort of what the lineup of all the different instruments were in each of the combos as well. So that's great, getting ahead of the game using the train journey. Were there when you did the rehearsal, was there anything in the rehearsal that then inspired you to revise or develop the piece further, so that when you came the next day to record it, would the players have realized that there'd been a bit of a shift, or was it pretty much the same?
It stayed the same, just it like cleaning up. It gave me a chance to like clean up, but like I don't think I did anything, not that I can remember anything.
And is there anything that you're going to do with this piece now in the future? Because I think you're definitely planning to continue with composition and studying in the future. Have you had the opportunity to get the piece played?
No, I haven't had a chance to get it played. There's not much jazz players around me, but I definitely want to. I've used it for my portfolio for applying for conservatoires, but yeah.
Brilliant. Also, just to say to yourself and everybody, all the jazz composers that worked with us, this link to each of your recordings, I know Harry's going to send them out later on, that each of your pieces are on YouTube independently as well, and you use those links to really promote your work, both to potential players of people that might want to perform your pieces, but also, like you say, when you're applying to go to auditions, or even your A-level and GCSE portfolios. So how do you feel about yourself as a composer as a result of having done the 6 days with NYJC? Has it helped contextualize yourself, reinvigorate?
Yeah. It's definitely it's like confirmed that composition is something that I definitely want to do. It's and having that like short time frame of like 3 days, getting a piece done and then recording, it was great to see. It was like but like the best part was being in a community of musicians that could like be my colleagues and stuff. It was like that was really cool. Yeah.
Really important, isn't it, to meet other people, and your own age as well. I think that's really important. And what we were saying to all of the performers that were there is that now, and these composers are of your age, they're your generation, they're your people, all move together. This is the future of the music. It's in your hands, and so it's really exciting. It was really exciting to introduce the composers to the players as well. So what's the title of your piece?
Break 7.
So I'm going to hand over to Harry, and let's enjoy Break 7. Thanks a lot, Matteo.
I'm Matteo Babatelli. This is Break 7. Take 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Brilliant. I'm wondering if, Matteo, if you might come back and just join me quickly for a question, which is that one of the things that I realised through being a jazz composer is how personal each person's playing is to them, stylistically. And then we had Edward Harris Brown playing the piano, and I'm wondering if the way that he transitioned, it worked so nicely from the groove and then that solo feature moment into the more lyrical. Was his personality part of the influence of the structure, or did you think at some point I'm going to get to wanting to get to know the band so one of them can help me with that transition, or did the transition come out of having heard Edward play? What was that interplay between knowing the improvisers and thinking about your compositional structure?
It was actually complete chance. I had no idea that Edward was going to do anything like that. When I wrote 2 bars, open, piano, just give us a little solo to transition, so it's not as sudden. And luckily, Edward Harris Brown, the absolute monster, he did a wonderful job. I've actually transcribed it because I thought it was so beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. And even the drum solo, I gave him loads of hits because I just knew that they were going to be exceptional because these, it's National Youth Jazz Collective, and the sax solo as well, brilliant. So yeah,
brilliant. Well, congratulations, and I think they've played gave a really good performance of the piece, and I can see it from their faces they thoroughly enjoyed playing it. So well done, Matteo. What are your plans for after year 13?
I've applied to conservatoires. Hopefully, I'll be doing composition at one of those.
Brilliant. Keep us informed, and all the best. And thank you so much for joining the course, or everybody that came along. A big thank you, because it was a fabulous few days. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, lovey. Next person we're going to call up is, if I can find the little sheet, is Kale. And Kales was one of the first composers that you're going to hear this evening to have actually written for a vocalist. So I'm not going to steal your thunder. Kale, come and tell us all about what it was like being told that the group you were assigned to had a vocalist. Did you decide yourself? Did you opt? Did you ask me and say I'd like to work with the vocalist, or did I allocate the vocalist, and what was your thinking? Hello.
Hi, sorry, I got kicked out. I'm back now.
Did you hear the question?
No, I didn't. Sorry, I got kicked out of me.
So the question was, you were, of the people that everyone's listening to, of the program that everyone's listening to today, you're the first composer who was actually writing for a group that had a vocalist involved. So I'm wondering, just to give everybody a fuller picture of what was going on, did you ask to write for voice? Did I allocate you the group with voice? And what was your thinking when you were told there was a vocalist in there? How did you go about writing for an ensemble that included voice?
So we all got asked if we wanted to write for voice because there were 2 vocalists on the course, and I took the question as like, at some point in my life would I like to write for voice. So even though I said, yeah, that would be great, I was still surprised and kind of quite daunted by it because I've never written for voice before. But luckily Taylor was great, and it was a really eye-opening experience because I kind of got thrown in the deep end by it in a great way.
In what way was she great? Was there any sort of interaction and conversation during the writing process, or do you mean that she was just up for it and really supportive of your ideas in the rehearsal, in the recording, or was there some interplay going on in between that as well?
Yeah, I mean, she was just really up for it and very kind of upfront about asking questions and picking my brain for what I was thinking with the voice part. And also she had been on the vocal course a few days before, so we'd already known each other for 4 or 5 days, compared to everyone else most of the people in that group I just met.
Right.
Yeah, she was just really helpful with getting my ideas across to her and the rest of the band as well.
So what's the title of the piece?
The title of the piece is Broken Sky.
And how does that relate to the piece? And particularly because there were lyrics, I think, weren't there, that you wrote? Hello?
Yeah, the lyrics are hi, sorry, my Wi-Fi is bad.
Okay. I think because
But yeah, the lyrics
we've got such a bad signal, can I suggest that we play the piece and then
I'm
we'll
not really sure. I got lyrics from the word.
Harry, I'm going to hand over to you because of the signal being so bad, and then we can have a see if in the interim if we can do something to help Kale, because it would be really great to hear you more clearly. Is that all right? Over to you, Harry.
I'm Kel Goodban. This is Broken Sky, take 1.
Great. And the great thing about that piece was that, as everybody will notice, there was a slightly more mature drummer on the video, because we actually had two drums originally in the band, but both were ill. So Asaf very kindly, who was the tutor, Asaf Circus, very kindly sat in and played. And I think that was another opportunity for everybody to see how it felt to be playing with a professional in the band. I'm just wondering if we might move on to the next person and then in a minute come back for the signal to get the question answered about the writing for vocalists. So can I leave you with that question about what was it like writing for a vocalist while we sort out our connection? But for now, congratulations. It's a really great piece and it worked so well. I'm wondering if we could invite Lucian up as well, because Lucian, you also wrote for voice.
Oh yeah, I also wrote for voices. A completely different experience. I think I wasn't really expecting to explore that much of the voice, as in I think I was focusing more on the grander gestures, and I think the voice was just a part of it. And in the end, I think I had a very different experience as well, because my vocalist, or the vocalist that Joe and I had, she actually didn't she wasn't able to sight sing, so it was a very like it was a big obstacle to get through in advance of the rehearsal and the performance, I think.
And I'm wondering what the contribution of the voice, what was it, elements was it telling of the short story without there being any lyrics? So what was it that you asked the voice to do?
Instead of, I think when writing this piece, I was like borrowing a little bit from the bossa nova idiom, but less a bossa nova song itself, but sort of the echo one, where you have it go like pass and come back in. And it's just like something in the distance. It's like the memory of something. Yeah.
May I ask you, because I remember you started a piece, and this is something that we often come across when people are working with jazz musicians. It takes a little while to make that leap of faith, to think, I don't need to forget my own personal sound world. There is a way that I can share that sound world with the jazz musicians. But sometimes people often think that they've got to write in a sort of a pastiche kind of a way. And there was a big sudden shift in, you'd started work on one piece and then something happened for you and you went, you know what, I've started again. And I'm wondering, we get the chance because we were all working at great speed. So from my perspective, it's like, that's great, that's fine, absolutely have my blessing. But I'm wondering if you could share with us, what was it that at that point when you suddenly went, do you know what, I'm going to start again. I'm going to start with a whole new fresh piece of paper.
I guess on that first day, I was really just searching for something, right? And I guess maybe sometimes it's just my compositional process that I just like write as much as I can and see maybe it's not right and just retract it. And then on the second day, I was really thinking, what do I actually want to get out of this? And sort of my interests and sort of what sort of sound worlds I actually wanted to talk about. And I ended up with something maybe, in a way, it was different to what I initially started. Like I had a really fast piece, and then sort of I went into something a bit more sort of interesting, and like sort of maybe peculiar is the right word. But then in the end, I got back to this really fast-paced and energetic thing. So maybe I went full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of composition. It's a slowing down of the improvisation process, isn't it? So it's taking it out of real time and really considering it like a Rubik's Cube, kind of looking at it from 360 degrees. And that rotation is at your pace rather than the speed, the tempo of the actual composition itself. Great. And what's the title of the piece?
The title of the piece is Portrait of the Mystic. Yeah.
And where did that come from?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about like 60s minimalism, like these mystic figures, sort of Lamont Young with the big beard. That's where I got the really dense chord at the start as well. So I was just thinking of sort of my classical interest as well.
Brilliant. It felt very much like you were coming in with ingredients that you were familiar with, but you were choosing to cook a whole new dish from it. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And it was really successful. So if you might just introduce it one second time, and then we'll hand over to Harry.
Yep. This is my piece, Portrait of the Mystic.
Hi, my name is Aishan, and this is Portrait of the Mystic.
Well done. That's brilliant. What I'm hoping that everybody that's watching will realise is that, you know, we really are true to our word when we say to the young composers that we work with, bring your creative personality, bring your sound world, and don't feel that you've got to compromise it in any way, shape or form. We want to meet you as you are as composers. The only thing that's new is that we want you to share your ideas with jazz musicians. And so that's the new element to the composition. And already, I think from the 3/4 of the pieces that we've heard, I think you'll definitely agree that it's a really lovely, it's like an anthology of short stories, all of these compositions. The next person I'm going to bring up, I know he's actually gone on to start at the Conservatoire in Leeds. So if we could welcome, please, to the stage, James, if you would join us. And first up, how's it all going?
I'm good. My mum's decided to materialise.
Hello, Mum. I'm going to be short and sweet because we're a bit short of time. So sending you all our best wishes. Sit back and relax and enjoy. Very nice to see you. And I bet you're dead proud of your wonderful son.
Definitely.
James, would you tell us a bit about your piece? Have you had the chance to get it played yet in Leeds?
Oh, so I think it's going to get played soon. I've amassed some people and they've just sort of written it for a smaller group, but it'll be played soon.
And I remember working with you, and it felt suddenly as we walked into the rehearsal space and you'd sort of gauged the, they got to see the band and you'd heard the other two pieces. Suddenly I could really feel that you were like, oh yeah, this is going to work. I could really, you came to life in the rehearsal. And I'm wondering how that felt to be approaching the stand and you knew given the pieces out and there was that great sense of, do you know what, this really is going to work. How did that feel?
It's very, there's no way to describe it until you actually experience it. But usually you write something and then it's just on like your computer in a MIDI file. But with this, it's really sort of energetic and you can really see the music come to life when it's played to you live.
And Lucy and Tatiana had preceded you with the same group, so you'd seen the process from their perspective. So, of all the young musicians that were sort of stepping up to the music stand, there was definitely that you'd already worked it out; it was going to work because you'd seen it with the process from the others. That was really lovely to see. And then the way that you conducted it, the way that they performed it, did much change from the rehearsal to the recording?
I don't think much changed there, but after having have the months going over it, now when I play it again with the group in Leeds, I think I've changed some stuff around.
Oh wow, that's great. Again, relating to Mike Gibbs, who I was talking about earlier on, there is no fixed definitive version of any piece by him. He's constantly revising, refreshing, replenishing it, and I think that is something that's very possible as a jazz musician because often it's the context that the piece is being played. The one thing we haven't talked about, which it would be nice just to hear from you before we move on to hearing the performance, is that the element that we haven't talked about is actually conducting. And everybody was having little mini tutorials about conducting, some top tips, and then going to communicate their ideas. And I think that was what struck me as I saw you approach the stand. I could see that the piece was in your body. You were ready to conduct it. And I'm wondering how that felt, because not everybody felt the day one when we first started talking about conducting comfortable. I'm wondering, did you go away and prepare and think about it a little bit, or do you feel that the piece itself kind of conducted itself? Might you talk a bit about the element of conducting?
I'd say definitely with conducting, I thought I had an easier load because my piece really just moves along by itself, so I didn't need to highlight anything, especially because the time signature, it's 4/4 and it's very simple, I guess. The structure is very simple and it's easy to understand. But I think also the conducting lessons are really helpful, especially with things outside of 4/4, because all I know is 1, 2, 3, 4. But learning about sort of 7 and 9 and 5 and the other ways to conduct was really interesting.
That was lovely as a group, wasn't it? Choosing time, me shouting out time signatures, and then we were all collectively doing it. So nobody was being highlighted. It's like doing a bit of exercise together, wasn't it? We were all doing it together, so we were all invested in it. So it felt a lovely thing to share collectively, and it's definitely something that we'll keep as part of the course itself. So might you tell us the title of the piece, and then we'll get Harry to to press play.
My title is Heroes of Xena.
Where did you get the title from?
It was randomly etched into the cupboard and where I was sleeping, so I decided to go with it.
I remember that now. That's brilliant. I love how everybody's titles have actually got their own unique story. Brilliant. So if you would introduce it one more time, we'll hand over to Harry. And well done, James, and all the best for Leeds. I look forward to seeing you next time I visit there.
Yeah. My piece is called Heroes of Xena.
Hello, my name is James Cicio, and this is my piece called Heroes of Xena.
Brilliant. That was so good. And I love the energy of it and the shape, and I love the inclusion of space, but all those breaks. Fantastic. Really gives everybody an opportunity to make it their own, especially rhythm section players. And I loved Ren's solo when those breaks were happening behind her, and how she she really followed the contours and the shapes of it all. That's when it's like a thermal, I always think, when you're writing backings in the solo section, that if you set it up, the soloist doesn't have to frantically flap their wings and try and fight against everything. It goes with the current that you've set up. So talking of currents, I was wondering, Oliver, might you come and join us next and tell us about your piece? Hi,
Yes,
nice
hello.
to see you. Lovely to
Nice to
see
see you
you.
too.
All good? How are you enjoying
Yeah, and you?
how are you enjoying the session? You
Yeah,
enjoy
it's been really great so far. Really nice to meet us.
because the thing that people watching probably don't realize is that this is the first time that you've all had chance to hear each other's pieces, because you've all been so frantically writing and in tutorials and then rehearsing with the combo. So you'll have just heard whoever was with your ensemble for the rehearsal and the recording. So it's a real variety of different pieces and styles, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So tell us about your piece, because again, you're coming at it from a totally different angle to anybody else, which is really lovely in the anthology of year one of the Composers Summer School. Might you tell us a bit about your piece, particularly because the title gives it away slightly? What's it called?
Yeah, my piece is called Dinner in 9 because it's in 9/8. And just to tell you a bit about my piece, I wanted to try and do quite a enthusiastic, upbeat, sort of big band sort of sound for the start and the end, like structures of the piece. And in between, there's a slower ballad because I wanted to have quite a lot of contrast between the two. So see if you can like hear how they change. It was quite fun to write.
Is there much opportunity where you are to get your pieces played? Have you
I haven't had it played yet, but I've been able to play a couple of phrases and a couple of sections with my mum and my other family members, which is quite good fun.
That's great. It's great to hear from two of you so far have reported about playing the pieces with family members, which is great. And I'm wondering what your plans are with composition sort of now, sort of this academic year, what's happening with composition?
Well, I am composing in school, my GCSE, as well as in Guildhall, junior Guildhall at the moment. So I'm very very happy to carry on composing and in my free time as well, and I'm enjoying it quite a lot at the moment.
What did you get from working with the particular lineup of 9 people with improvisers in it? Did it enable you to try explore things that you might not have had the opportunity to explore yet?
Yeah, absolutely. And the instrumentation as well. For example, the guitar, I'd never really composed for guitar before, and it was having that set instrumentation was really useful to kind of expand my reach in instrumentation.
Brilliant. So might you introduce your piece, and then we're going to get Harry to press play. You just reminded me about instrumentation was that we actually had a bassoonist in one of the ensembles, didn't we? And then they were taken ill with COVID, and I was really impressed with how the composers adapted and we found a way around it. But, you know, everybody was thinking on their toes constantly from the day that you all arrived right till the day of recording. So might you introduce your piece and we'll get Harry to play it. Congratulations.
Thank you. My piece is called Dinner in 9.
Great, well done, Oliver. That was brilliant. I hope you're happy with how it turned out, because this is the first time that you've all heard your pieces, isn't it? Because we've been editing and selecting. So are you happy?
Yeah, very happy.
Great. Well, I'm going to move on to the next composer, but stick around to give, and obviously we'll call everyone to the stage at the end, and we're going to give each other a big rapturous round of applause. But for now, thanks a lot, Oliver.
Thank you.
And I've got a message from Kale, who was the composer who, because of the signal, so wrote Broken Skies, and we were asking about writing for voice. And so, because thanks to technology, we've had a text message. And my question was, what was it like writing for voice? Had you opted, or were you assigned to writing for voice? And, how did you go about it? And I'm really glad that the reply, Kale, came through, because you've reminded me of something I'd forgotten, which was during the days that we were together, with the vocal project also going on simultaneously, then Pete Churchill, who was working with the vocalists, led a session for the vocalists and the composers, which was about how to write a song, and looking at the American Great American Songbook. So of course that was a big influence, looking at the harmony and the structure. So that was really great to hear. And so the answer is, I've never written for a vocalist before, so it was a completely new experience. I was inspired by Pete Churchill's workshop on Great American Songbook standards and mixing the lyrical style of those songs, particularly songs about love and heartbreak, with my hard bop and neo soul instrumental influences. So well done. And a fellow composer who was also on the composers summer school, and then both Kale and the next composer stayed on to do the short course, and you were both assigned to write for the same group and the vocalist. So I'd like to welcome to the stage another composer who wrote for voice. I don't know if it's the first time, we'll find out. Alex Scott, come and join us, Alex. Hello. So, had you written for voice before? How did you feel about being invited to write for voice, and how did it influence your writing? Did you just see it as one of the 9 instruments, or did you have a particular focus on how you wanted to work with a vocalist? Seems to be having, particularly with the composers who wrote for voice, ironically, you seem to be a bit mute. Can't hear you, Alex, I'm afraid. Don't know, are you on mute, or is it the signal? I'm going to ask Harry for his advice. I think the best thing is probably, Harry, if you play us the track, and then we can see how we get to connect with Alex. So the piece is called Lapis, which Alex wrote, and then we'll see if we can improve the signal. Over to you.
I'm Alex Scott, and this is my piece, Lapis.
Um, I think you're muted, maybe. So,
Izzy, I believe you're still on mute.
What was it like writing for voice, Alex?
yeah, it was really interesting. And it was really interesting, like as like using Taylor as like another instrument and another like texture to add on for the horn passages and trying to fit her into like the harmony and stuff. Yes, it was really good.
Yeah, definitely felt that while we were listening to your piece, that it's very much like when we listened to Norma Winston, with Kenny Wheeler.
Yeah.
She's definitely an integrated part of an instrument. The voice is an instrument rather than someone singing lyrics. Well
Yeah.
done. And then you went on to do the short course. Have you got the opportunity to get the pieces played?
I've like played like the melody on sax, but I haven't had the opportunity to get it played since. No, I'd like to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about your piece. It's, again, similar to what we were saying earlier on. It's very transferable. I can really imagine it working really well with you and a pianist or a guitarist as a duo, but also then you've got the opportunity to widen it out. We're a bit pushed for time, and I want to make sure that everybody gets played. But Alex, I want to congratulate you on your piece. Like everybody else, you worked really hard, really focused. And I think hopefully you're very pleased, because I know we are, with the end result. So are you happy?
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. Yeah.
Good. Well, we look forward to working with you again in the future as well. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Alex.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Alex Ridow to join us again, because Alex, the next composer, was in your group. Actually got the piece recorded and performed with your group.
Yeah, Felix.
So I'm wondering, Felix, if you might come and join us as well.
Hello.
And between the two of you, whether you might tell us any sort of bits of the background story with the piece and how it evolved, and the rehearsal and the recording. And obviously, Alex, you were there, so if there's anything that you remember, and same with Felix, about, so that we can sort of evoke it in our mind's eye and mind's ear, just as what was happening with the process. So Felix, how did you start the piece?
I do all of my composition on the piano, and I'm not very used to writing it down. So the main, like, I came up with a groove on the piano. That was the first thing I did. And then I eventually got it written down, wrote a melody, wrote that down. And that was the process of the...
Gosh, that piecemeal way of layering it is definitely not what came across with the finished product. It felt like the whole thing had organically grown. So it's really interesting. I quite like it sometimes when I'm not in on the full process. So I think, Alex, you gave Felix a couple of tutorials, and I know Billy did as well during the process. And then the composition itself, when it was recorded, when it was rehearsed and then it was recorded, was there anything that you sensed changed significantly?
I think, I don't know, for me, I think Felix, you quickly had an idea of how things operate in a rehearsal, and, you had to adapt quickly, and it became really efficient by the end of the rehearsal. It was great, I thought. And I think the thing that I noticed was the musicians in my combo definitely really enjoyed playing the piece, so that's important too.
I think that efficiency is another thing that I've not pointed out, and you're absolutely bang on there, Alex, that all of the young composers, not only did they get something out of rehearsing the pieces to hear it, but they're actually conducting and instigating that piece, initiating it, igniting it, became really potent in the recordings. Listening to them, it's like, wow, that piece, even though it's hardly changed writing wise, the sort of the commitment and its definition was much bigger in the recordings. Felix, are you happy? Was there much process, was there much alteration that went on between the rehearsal and the recording?
I think possibly the biggest change was like in the mindset I had between the two, because before going into them, I had no clue it was going to sound that incredible. They just really are the most fantastic musicians. And afterwards, I was like, okay, they're amazing. What can I do to sort of push them to help and like make them, I guess, enjoy it more? Because making it more challenging sometimes is more enjoyable.
And software wise, there were some challenges as well, weren't
Yeah.
you? Honestly, and I know also this Marcus had similar issues, and I just think it's parcel somewhere, Alex, in the game of things. We're going to have a story about a piece that we wrote where we were having horrible technological difficulties, something constantly crashing or getting lost, and so I think just to reassure everybody that that's just par for the course, isn't it? That it does happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mark, I have to say that you dealt with it so brilliantly, Felix. I was really, and the same with Marcus, because I know that there were some issues as well. I was so proud of you both, of not just suddenly running through the garden with your heads on fire going, I'm not going to be able to do this. You just very calmly sorted it out and allowed yourself a bit of time just to adapt in your thinking, and you were very mature about it all, and it really paid off. Nobody would imagine from hearing the pieces that you'd gone through that, but I think it's such an important thing to comment you on this in the process, to compliment you for saying congratulations. That's all part of being a composer, and you got 200% in excellence. So how did it feel? Because the piece itself was brilliant. Same with Marcus. Hello, Marcus. How did it feel when your software was crashing, wasn't it?
It was mentally demoralizing. No, but I lost about like my entire baseline. I think that just, I don't know. I think in a way it sort of helped it get better because it gave me a second chance that I wouldn't have done otherwise. But it was kind of a big step back.
Also, did you? I think the question to ask ourselves is, did we actually really lose it? Because you both managed to rewrite it all, and it was pretty true to what you'd. So I think it's it's also endorsing the fact that the pieces were strong. They were so strong, they were memorable, and then you wrote them down again. And do you think that's true, Felix? Was it easy to sort of pin it all down once you?
Yeah. I definitely. I just want to thank Marcus, because I actually moved onto the software that he was using, and I had no clue what I was doing, and he was so helpful in writing it down. So just a big thank you to Marcus.
Bravo, Marcus. There's a musician who we work with who will remain nameless, but was commissioned to write a lot of big band music. I know Alex knows who this story, and their laptop was stolen. They got all the music on the laptop and they hadn't backed it up, and had to go home and basically just write the whole thing all again, ready for an album and a tour and everything. So, but the same thing, it showed how strong the pieces were, because although it was frustrating to have to put the time in to write all that intricate music again, that was achieved. So also it shows that just how much potency that music had, and the personality was already there. So for those people watching, the notating and the writing it down, be careful not to make the software the creative process, because the creative process is in here and in the ears, and that's the proof in the pudding, is what Marcus and Felix, what you both did, because those pieces are fabulous. Might you tell us the title, please, Felix, and then we will ask Harry to press play.
Yeah, the title of my piece is One Up.
And why One Up?
I was originally going to go with One Down, and then that sounded a bit depressing, so I chose One Up instead.
That's a really good reason. I know we can hear it in the music as well. So congratulations again, because you, as I say, when you rocked up for rehearsal and recording, nobody would have guessed that you'd had those struggles. You managed it really well, and the piece is brilliant. So let's hand over to Felix. Would you introduce it one last time, and we'll hand over to Harry?
Yeah, my piece is called One Up. Hi, I'm Felix Goodwin. This is One Up.
Well done, Felix. Honestly, that was brilliant. And it played itself as one of the soloists in the band. I would have been really excited about being invited to take an improvisation. Well done. You did brilliantly. Hope you were happy with it.
I was. Thank you.
You're welcome. And just to remind everybody that we will send the individual YouTube links as well, that Harry's put those beautiful credits, and we'll send those to each of you so that you can use them to promote your work, because that's what you need to do. It's really strong, everybody. Now, those of you who are vigilantly watching what we're doing will probably say, I thought she said there were 12 composers, but we've only heard 11 so far. I'm going to invite Helena back to join us. Our 12th composer, who we're going to play out on, is actually not here because...
So unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately for them, Joe is in India. I believe at a family wedding. So yeah, I think the weather's probably nicer for him than it is for me in Manchester.
Definitely want to wish Joe all the best, and the family and the wedding, and really great that we can still share his piece and capture the piece, and obviously you can watch it back on YouTube. Harry and Alex, might you come and join us while you do that? Helen, I'm wondering what are you thinking about the show, because it's the first opportunity you've had to hear the pieces.
I'm just so impressed. I really am. I think it's really easy to forget the age of the composers and also the combo musicians. But I've just been blown away by the standard. And yeah, I think the future of British jazz is in very good hands.
It certainly is. And just to remind everybody, 11 to 18 is the age range of the composers at the time. And then the players were 14 to 18. So Alex, I know that you've gone on and you went to the academy after you did NYJC, and then you're studying in America. You went on to win the BBC Young Jazz Musician of the Year. You're about to perform. Do you want to tell us about your performances at the London Jazz Festival, in case people would like to come and hear you play?
Yeah, cheeky plug, sure. I have a trio gig at the Vortex on the very first day, the 10th of November. So yeah, that's the one to come to. And yeah, sorry.
Will there be some original compositions in there?
Definitely, it will be mostly original compositions, and it's chordless trio, so I'm gonna have to think about what I'm gonna do a bit more than I usually do. So that's all fun stuff. Yeah,
thinking linearly, and which is a really great way of thinking. What do you think of the performances? Because it's the first time you've heard the whole set.
Yeah, it was really beautiful concert, and everyone should be really proud of themselves. Not just for the composition, but for, managing to get it together in a short amount of rehearsal time. And yeah, they got the best out of all the musicians, I think. So
I think the word professionalism definitely comes to mind with everybody. Their whole approach, wanting to be really creative and individuals, telling their own short story, seeing it through, making sure they completed the task, communicating it with the rest of the band. Everybody was really courteous as well towards the other band members. Nobody got stressed and then sort of transferred that stress into the room. And it was really lovely the way that the ensembles were very supportive of each other as well. So just want to say to people watching about NYJC, honestly, I can say it's a really, really supportive and nurturing environment. So please do follow us. How does one follow us, Helena, to see what's happening?
Well, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hopefully, as you're on it now, that's very easy to click on the little bell icon. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We also have our amazing website. So yeah, definitely. I'm sure Harry can remind me if I've forgotten anything.
How do we sign up for the newsletter, Harry?
If you head over to our website, you should get a nice pop-up that will say, would you like to sign up for our newsletter? And all you have to do is put your email in, and then you should receive lovely newsletters from NYJC.
That's the national, so www.nationalyouthjazz.com or co.uk.
I believe it's .co.uk.
Yeah. So Alex, just wondering now, looking back at when you were their age and all those opportunities, do you think we've got it right? Is this the way to be nurturing young composing improvisers?
Yes, absolutely. I really had like such a great time when I was on NYJC, and I just seeing how everyone is, being so supportive of each other and really letting their creativity just come through it's really it's really nice to see, and it's definitely the kind of things that I benefited a lot as a foundation. And I think about actually coming back and teaching on it made me remember a lot of the things that I was doing back then. And I'm still really close with lots of people that I met, like, you know, some of my best friends, and I still play with them and stuff like that. So yeah, you know, it's just, yeah, it's a really great time.
I think the composers that are here will remember when we had their interviews and we met online or in person. One of the things I said to them was, you don't need to know me, I'm ancient. What you need to do is know the young players of your age. And that's why it's so brilliant that we can bring them together so that you can move forward together. So it's really nice to hear that endorsement. And it was a real pleasure having you working with us, Alex. It really was, both on the summer school and the composition. I very much hope to be working with you again on future courses as well.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
That contextualizing both the composition and the improvising as somebody who's constantly on stage, it was brilliant. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Harry, what do you think of the show so far?
I think that was pretty good, if you ask me. I've been lucky enough to see them quite a few times now, so I knew how good they were. But it's nice.
Putting the credits together. That was really nice. That was really lovely to be able to see who's playing. So if people go back and watch them, to see who was playing, who the instrumentalists were, as well as the titles of the pieces. So thank you for doing that. That was really great.
No problem at all. And you should be able to magically at 7 o'clock, which is just turned, go onto our YouTube channel and see all of the videos that we've shown today.
Brilliant. Well, I think it's time for us to say adieu. And to sign off, we're really excited about sharing the 12th piece. Thank you very much, everybody, for supporting NYJC and tuning in. I'm sure those of you that are related or friends with the composers are bursting with pride and joy and glee. So please do keep continuing to support them. It's really important as a creative person to feel that support. It's an energy that we can really draw on. And obviously, as we say, anything that NYJC does, please do sign up for the newsletter and join us in future. But for now, we want to say to Joe Peddy, we hope you're having a fantastic time in India. Have a really good wedding, and everybody else, take good care of yourself. The nights are drawing in, but the music's still out there, so there's fire out there in jazz. Enjoy. Over to Joe's piece, which is called Liberations. All the best.
I'm Joseph. This piece is called Liberation.